one cool thing that we get to do here at Dave Campbell's Texas
This is one of my favorite new things.
is we have a partnership with the Texas Sports Hall of Fame.
Yep.
If you're unfamiliar with the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, it is down in Waco, and it's right off campus from Baylor, and it is awesome. It is a really cool. It's a really cool area. First of all, they've got a whole room dedicated to the Southwest Conference, which, if you want a way to my heart.
Yeah.
They also have a whole room dedicated to Dave Campbell, so if you want another way to my heart. And they also have a whole room dedicated to high school football.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's pretty much my favorite place.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool. If you ever get a chance to go down there to Waco, it's definitely worth your time. And I mentioned the part about high school football. And they are and so every year they nominate or they do a Texas High School Football Hall of Fame, which is kind of a subset of the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. And they recently, when was this? When did it come out? Friday?
I think so.
It came out, I think Friday or late last week. They announced the ballot for the class of 2017 for the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame. The class will be announced during the 2016 UIL High School Football State Championship games. For example, last year Vince Young and our friend Craig Way were both on it.
Mm-hmm.
Both stalwarts on this show. One because he's been on the show before, and the other because he needs to come get his Player of the Year award.
That's true.
So we're going to post the whole thing on TexasFootball.com, but want to run through it a little bit and talk about it. What I think is really good is that they break it down by each decade.
Yeah.
And they say, okay, we're going to induct one player or coach, or I think it's or one player, and they have two coaches. One player from each decade. And so they have 1950s and below, 1960s, 1970s, 80s, 90s, up to the 2000s.
Yep.
So 1950s, Bobby Cavazos out of Kingsville, a number of Jerry Mays, a lot of the kind of the historic names in Texas high school football. Same with the 60s. You got Mean Joe Green, who played Temple Dunbar, Gene Upshaw, former NFL commissioner, etc. 1970s, Lovie Smith, Ken Washington is on here, a few others that again we'll post the whole one on TexasFootball.com. Let's see. In the 1980s, Larry Centers, Johnny Walker out of San Antonio Holmes, John Randall out of Hearn. What I love about this is this always reminds you of just how many football legends played high school football here.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
And that's always something that I think they try to strike a balance with, is they try to strike a balance between guys who went on to do amazing things in the NFL,
right,
and also guys who were just really super good in high school.
Yeah.
So that's why I really like about that. The 1990s, Cliff Kingsbury.
Oh yeah.
Dat Wynn.
Fred
Smith.
Yeah.
David Warren.
Alan Faneca,
Jeff Watson, Jason Bragg. It's a who's who in the 1990s.
Yeah.
In the 2000s, Garrett Gilbert.
Tough group to pick from here.
Nathan Vasher, Traylon Shedd, who at one, who's I think third on the list of all-time rushers. Reggie McNeil.
Yeah.
Greg McElroy.
Roy Miller.
Cedric Griffin. It's a huge thing. As far as the coaches are concerned, it's a really interesting list.
How do you pick two out of this group?
You got Lynn Etheridge. You got Steve Lineweather, who just retired at or did he retire? Or I think he's the athletic director. AD. So he retired from coaching. T.J. Mills, who won 3 straight titles at Sealy. Chad Morris, maybe you've heard of him. Eddie Peach, one of the winningest coaches in the DFW area. Scott Phillips, who cut his teeth at Groveton and Waxahachie. Lewis Richardson, Bob Shelton at Buda Hayes.
Legend down in Centex.
So they're going to have to pick 2 from that list. I do
Good
not
luck.
envy the board that has to come up with that list. And then one thing that's cool is they have a Dave Campbell contributed to the game. Yeah. So they wanted to have that's where Craig Way got in last year, was on the Dave Campbell contributor to the game. It's who contributes to Texas high school football, to promoting the game and to making the game great. And it's very cool. I know Dave's been involved with the Hall of Fame for a long, long time. Yep. And so they named this award after him because Dave's a perfect example. Yeah. Here's a guy who didn't play. Yeah. Here's a guy who didn't coach. A guy who didn't do anything on the field.
Right.
But he had a huge impact on how football is consumed and how football has grown to be what it is in Texas. Yeah. And so I really like this Dave Campbell Contributor to the Game Award. Two names that kind of jump out at me. One, Bruce Hardy. If you don't know who Bruce Hardy is, Bruce Hardy has been basically he works for Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
And he has been the stadium manager at both Texas State Stadium and now at AT&T Stadium. Yeah. And Bruce Hardy is a big reason why there have been so many high-profile Texas high school football games at those stadiums.
Right.
For Jerry Jones, one of the reasons that Jerry Jones has made sure he said it's very important for me and for my stadiums to host Texas high school football games. And that's great.
Yeah.
Bruce Hardy is the one who makes those happen.
Right.
So he is up for this Dave Campbell Contributor to the Game Award, as well as John Heidke. John Heidke.
Good friend of the program.
Old boss of mine, actually, technically. John Heidke is the former head of Fox Sports Southwest. If you want to know why Fox Sports Southwest has such a huge commitment to Texas high school football, why we have a 3-hour live show on Friday night, why High School Scoreboard Live is the highest rated show on that network, is because of John Heidke. It's because they've made that commitment to high school football. So that is those are guys who are up there. And again, we'll have this whole thing up for the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame. We'll have the whole list up on TexasFootball.com later today. And by the way, they do an email from my boss he wants me to mention, but they do they take nominations from, or they take suggestions and nominations from the public as far as who should be nominated. So they do have some rules as opposed to who is eligible when. Like, for example, I don't think Jonathan Gray is eligible yet. You know what I mean? But they do have some rules, but they do take nominations. And I think the 2017 ballot is closed. But whenever we get information for the 2018 ballot for the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame, we'll make sure we let you guys know. But it's very cool. Texas Sports Hall of Fame. Google it. What is their website? I think it's tshof.org is their website. Actually, I should probably tell you. Yeah, that sounds about right. Right, I got it. I can tell you in a moment. tshof.org is where you can find the Texas Sports Hall of Fame's website, and within that is the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. Definitely worth your time. Have I ever told you my Texas High School Football Hall of Fame story?
If you have, I've forgotten it.
Okay. So we get invited every year to the induction ceremony. It's down in Waco. It's in March-April-ish.
Around then, yeah.
Around then. And they have a great event down there at Baylor. It's at the Farrell Center. And beforehand, they have this kind of meet and greet, this kind of gala. And you can, for us, because we're going to the thing, it comes as part of your ticket. But you have some people who are there, and they're kind of, honestly, they're autograph hounds. You know, they're looking for autographs. Like when LaDainian Tomlinson got in, the people trying to do that. But overall, it's just a lot of people hobnobbing.
You're just batting them away with a stick.
Of course, it's a lot of famous people. It's a lot of high profile athletes, and it's not just because it's the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. It's not just football players. Obviously, my focus is on the football players, but guys, just baseball players and basketball players walking around. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
and of course, old people who are in the Hall of Fame come back for it. It's very cool. You know. That's where I met John David Crow and all that fun stuff.
Super cool.
So I'm back in the Texas. I'm back in the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame, and back in the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame, they have a little section about Dave Campbell's Texas football.
Oh, nice.
And I always try to go back there. And for example, they have the Dave Campbell's Texas football board game, which came out, which was in the 70s, and I still cannot find one. It's part of the things that is not I've lost in I don't have in my Dave Campbell's collection. Is the board game. It's a very rare, but they have a copy of it. So I'm back there, and I always go back there and just kind of read it, and it's very cool. I'm sitting there. They got a couple of magazines on the wall. All of a sudden, from behind me, I hear, and I won't do his voice just because. You see that right there, darling? That's me. I turn around, and here's this kind of tall guy. He's got this, pretty woman on his arm.
Yeah.
And I turn around, and I go, "Oh my God, are you Donnie Anderson?" And he's like, "Yeah, I sure am." And I'm like, "Well, I'm Greg Tepper. I'm the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football." He's like, "Oh, hey, how are you?" And stuff like that. So I was there looking at this magazine, 1965, and then the guy on the magazine from 50 years ago.
That's pretty good.
Almost, nearly 60 years ago, walks up and says, "There I am." And of course, if you're on the cover of the magazine, the only reason you should bring it up is to impress women.
Yeah.
Right? that's the key for it.
Right.
And of course, I think I said to him, I was like, "Well, I've heard from Dave, the only reason we put him on the magazine was because he's so handsome."
Oh,
you know what?
1 in points. 1 in points.
Come on. Helping out.
Very well done.